All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to hang out for just a second here as people settle in so that no one misses any of these amazing questions and answers. I'm going to share my screen real quick because we're going to do a fancy thing. We're going to use Slido today to help us manage this AMA. So I have uploaded here all of the questions that were pre-submitted. And with Slido, you can upvote questions. So that's how we're going to manage stuff today. Look through what has already been put in and then upvote if you see something that you want to make sure we answer. If you don't see a question that suits your fancy, submit your own. And I think you can even upvote your own ones. So get us started there. That's how we're going to manage questions today. So just ignore the Q&A option at the bottom of Zoom and go straight to Slido. You go to slido.com, put in launch AMA. AMA is all caps, and that'll take you here. If you want to use your phone, you can scan the QR code. So that's how we're going to do it. And we really like Slido. So that's all. I don't work for Slido, just to be clear. Um, Now, we're just gonna have a little chitty chat while folks come in. Arlene, what's going on in your neck of the woods? How's the weather? What's happening?
The weather is lovely. We finally got some snow. For those of you that don't know me, I'm in Colorado Springs. And we like winter here, but we don't like it too much. So we like it to come and then go away. And it finally arrived. But it's also beautiful, like bluebird sky, all the
Oh,
good things. So,
lovely. That sounds beautiful.
yeah.
Are you missing out on any snow hobbies, snowshoeing, skiing, or are you back around to it now that you've got some snow on the ground?
We went up to Breckenridge last weekend, and my husband skied. Actually, it wasn't last weekend, it was last week. And I remote worked, but he
Okay,
skied, and we need some more. We
sure.
need a good old foot or two to just dump on those hills because it's kind of like snow-covered concrete right now. Maybe not the
Yes.
best for your hips
Yeah,
when you
not
take a
ideal.
tumble. So,
Not
yeah,
ideal.
yeah,
Bozeman's been in the same boat. It's been unseasonably warm. It was like 53 and sunny yesterday, which normally it's like negative 50 in Bozeman this time of year. So none of us are really sure what to do of ourselves, but I mean, we'll take it. It's
yeah.
nice to not have to worry about driving. Like, every once in a while, it's nice to just leave the snow in the mountains.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny is my mindset here, like in January, I'm like, nope, it's January. You can't ride bikes. And then all of a sudden I'll go for a walk and it's 60 degrees and you can ride bikes in 60-degree weather. It's just my brain hasn't remembered. And then somebody will go by me and I'll be like, oh, that's what I should have done. I should be. So I got to get my brain to realize real weather. So.
I love it. Perfect. Well, we're just past the hour, so I'm officially going to get us started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We're so excited to talk to you about launching an RIA and what it takes. We've got lots of questions that we're excited to answer. Just a couple of housekeeping. If you'll go to Slido to ask those questions, as I said before, that'd be great. Also, when you exit Zoom, you're going to see an option to fill out a survey. So tell us how we did. Also, provide any topics that you want to hear about from us in the future. That would be great. Also, our next event is on February 11th, and we're going to feature an XYPN member. She's going to be talking, Jessica Goddles. She's going to be talking about her workflows and how to scale. So you won't want to miss that. It's going to be really great information on how to run your firm as efficiently as possible as a solo firm owner. So we'll put the link to register for that in the chat. And I think that's it for the boring stuff. So we're going to just start with a quick introduction of each of us so you know why the heck you should listen to what we have to say. Arlene, do you want to kick us off with who you are and what you know?
Oh my gosh. I know this is a thing speakers are supposed to do. We're supposed to establish, our why we're worth listening to, but it cracks me up every time you say it. Well, hello everyone. I don't have the participant list in front of me, so I'm just assuming there's some of you that do not have any idea who I am. I'm Arlene Moss, the executive business coach here at XYPN. I have been working in this fee-only, fee-for-service space for over 20 years and coaching, good Lord in heaven, for like 18 of those. So it's been a hot minute. I have been exclusively in the solo and boutique side, unless you count a long ago experience way back when I worked with Kidder Peabody, but we don't really talk about that much because that was a long time ago. Anyway, I love coaching folks one-on-one. I work on group calls and webinars through XY and create content. So I've been around for a minute and know a few things. That's me.
Amazing. Thanks, Arlene. So I'm Aimee Arnaud. I am currently, as of January 1st, the Director of Sapphire Growth at XYPN Sapphire. I started with XYPN. We didn't used to call it Emerald, just used to be XYPN in April of 2020 on the business development team. And I've been bebopping around the sales team ever since then. I have talked to thousands of prospects on their journey to launch their own firm. So I've seen it all in terms of how to know when it's time to go, how to know when it's time to start your own firm, what some of the obstacles are to that, and why XYPN is or is not a good fit for you. So that's what makes me qualified. And I'm excited to answer some questions today. So, Arlene, are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, great. So, first
Yes.
one out of the gate, how truly complicated is compliance for small RIAs and what is generally required?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's not truly complicated. That said, we have Smart RIA, which is a tool that will help keep you on track and remind you of the things you need to do. It's especially uncomplicated in the early days when you don't have a lot of clients. You're not keeping a lot of records. Where you want to make sure you're in good hands is when you create that initial ADV that you're going to submit to the state. And I might be biased, I'll admit it. I've known people who've done their own and they survive. But oh my gosh, to have XYPN compliance on your side when they've literally done thousands of ADVs, I think we still are like the people that register the most in the whole country, if I'm not mistaken, on my data. So we have data on the states. So if you come in and you're like, hey, I'm from Mississippi, what are my rules? They'll be like, aha, this will fly in Mississippi, this won't. And oh my gosh, just a wealth of resources. So not super complicated once you're rolling. The bigger you get, the busier you get, the more likely you are to say, I don't want to screw around with this and hand it off. Or maybe just your fear level and your risk aversion for an audit, depending on the state you're in, you might say, nope, right out of the box. This is part of my budget. I'm paying for this. What is generally required? Well, good records. You need to have records, and I'm not a compliance person. So for the second half of this, please take this with a grain of salt and double check with a real honest to goodness compliance person. But you need records of what your recommendations have been, conversations you've had. If there have been complaints, you have to have a complaint log and what did you do about it? Um, you're going to want to have tidy emails so that when folks come in and they're like, okay, we want to have some samples of what, your contracts and whatnot. So I feel like the theme of compliance is tidiness. Aimee, you may have more knowledge on what's required than I do. So thoughts?
Yeah. So record keeping it, yeah, absolutely. Having an archiving tool, doing things on time. There's also your financials. It might, depending on your state and the bookkeeping requirements, there's financial requirements as well. So, yeah, there are a number of things like by state. And also to your point about when you're initially getting registered, that is also very subjective at the state level too. So it can be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks to sometimes up to 6 months. Nevada notoriously can be up to 9 months. So if you do want to just get a feel for how long it's going to take, especially if you're going to go through XYPN, feel free to book a team with our sales team or book a call with our sales team. They can talk to you about what they know because they do this day in, day out. And then on an ongoing basis, if you're starting as a solo firm, I have heard anecdotally that it's usually about 4 hours a month to stay on top of your compliance tasks, which Smart RIA, the compliance task management tool, will walk you through what all those are.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable number. Half day a
Yep.
month. Yep. Uh,
Okay, would this program work for starting a firm with zero AUM?
yes. There. Next
Yeah,
question.
done.
I know there's more behind that, So if you are the person that typed that question, I would love it if you threw in a follow-up question somewhere and we can upvote that. But yes, we work with people every single day who start with zero. And I will tell you something that's really fun for me as I've been around for a hot minute and I've known people from like I have coached certain advisors from client zero, like but when they're like, oh my God, will anyone ever say yes to me? All the way to selling their firm. I don't have a lot of those stories, but I have a couple, and it's just really awesome to go from, oh my God, will anyone ever say yes to me to, oh my gosh, I sold my firm. You'll never guess what my valuation was and what I got. And it's awesome. So
Yeah,
anyway, moving on.
absolutely. And I think, yeah, to your point of like, we probably need more details, but if the question is like, I think you have to evaluate what your own strengths and weaknesses are, right? So if you're like, I have only 2 years of a runway and I'm terrible at marketing and sales, like that's going to be a tougher sell because it can take longer than 2 years to really get up and going, especially if that's not your strong suit. But if you're thinking like, I'm going to start with zero, but I'm a really strong marketer, I'm a really strong salesperson, I also have a huge runway, like then it's, starting from scratch is a breeze then. So I think figuring out like, where you're comfortable, where you're going to shine, what your financial runway is. Like those all are in the mix of like if it's possible to start with zero AUM, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that I think we kind of get to that in these next two
Yeah.
questions.
Yep.
What are the biggest unexpected challenges? I think people often underestimate how long it's going to take to get that first yes.
Yeah.
And of course, that depends on you. Like, we have some folks, I've had people join XY and they're like, I don't even want to come to the marketing call yet because I'm so busy transitioning my clients over from my old firm. Well, bully for you. I am so happy for you. But for a lot of you, that won't be the case. And you got to just be out there, whether it's online, whether it's in real life, it's a slog. So, like, just that's the unexpected challenge is marketing and getting your butt out there and getting the ball rolling. Um, Loneliness, I think sometimes is an unexpected challenge. Simple solution for that, lean on your network. Lean on if you join XY, if you join someone else, if you whatever your network is, get some people who understand it. Okay. Don't always surround yourself with people who are crushing it and living their best life. Get some people who are like, yeah, this is hard. Let's work together. Let's support each other. So that loneliness is an unexpected challenge, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I think getting distracted by being busy, there's so many things that you can be working on in your firm that aren't really that impactful. Like setting up your marketing avatar, like probably important down the line, but like maybe not in your first 6 months. Or if you're like building out every single possible workflow or like building a library of content, like these are all things that can probably wait, but you can keep yourself busy 8 hours a day and like convince yourself that you're moving the needle when you're not. So I think not getting distracted by what might be seem like important work when it's not, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We disagree on the purpose of the avatar,
Well,
but
I'm
other
sorry.
than that,
I
100% I agreed with you. I'm like, no, know who you're gonna serve.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh. But like I said, these kind of all flow really nicely.
Yes.
I love this phrase. I don't know who said this, but ready is an action, not a feeling. That's fascinating to me to think about. Because sometimes people do kind of polish their boat and they just hang out and I'll tell people I'm like are you looking for new clients under your desk because that's not where they are, like get out of your office, get moving. And I think that's kind of what this is leaning to is you're never going to feel 100% ready. You're never going to feel like everything's perfect. So yeah, quit working on the workflow. You know what's going to help you figure out a workflow? Having a client go through it. That's going to help you. So get your butt in gear, get going. How do you know you're ready? This is such a personal question. And I want everyone to think about, why of starting your firm so that you really know you're coming from a place with the right reasoning behind it. If it's just because your job sucks right now and your boss is a jerk, oh, think a little longer. We are filled with people, especially in the early days, of people who are just like, I don't like my job. I don't like how we do planning here. I can't find anywhere that does it like I want to do it. So dang it all, I'm just gonna start my own firm. And I love that. And I love that we exist in the world to support people like that. But it also makes me feel kind of bad because it means we got a lot of accidental entrepreneurs. So if what you really want is a better job and you don't want to be a firm owner, I want you to be okay with that. Because we love helping people who really want to run their own firm. Um, but it's going to be maybe a recipe for unhappiness if you don't really want to do that. So,
Yes. I'm
yeah.
gonna have Maddie, who's our ghost host, look up a couple of resources. We have done a couple of webinars that I think will be helpful for this. One was called How to Know When It's Time to Go, which was featuring a couple of XYPN members and their thought process around making this very decision, especially leaving a salary, especially as the provider in a family, right? It's a really tough decision. So hopefully Maddie can find that and post that for us. Also, Alan hosted one a few years ago, called Are You Sure? Which is about having the conversation with a spouse or a partner, of making the leap into entrepreneurship because it does feel like such a risk and a gamble. So we're going to put those in the chat, hopefully, for people to check out too, because I think that'll really help with that conversation. All right. What does typical pricing look like for fee-based structures? I see 1% of AUM is common, but I've heard people say mine would be too cheap.
Ooh, I love this question.
I
This
thought
is
you might.
like, get ready, buckle up for a webinar, people. I will try to watch the clock and keep this concise,
Okay.
okay? I don't know what yours is, person, because you and people know that one of my favorite things is to tell you that your fees are too low. I probably would pig pile on this. 1% is common. 1%, lots of things are common because they've just been that way for years and years and years. It doesn't make it the best thing for you or for your clients. So we've got, and I've yet to come up with a better analogy. So sadly, I'm bringing out the three-legged stool, people. It's a tale as old as time. We have three things, okay? Our fee structure is one of them. The other is how much we're going to charge. And the critical third element is who the heck are you working for? Now, here at XYPN, we have a lot of folks that are working with traditional folks who are like, hey, look at me. I've got $1.5 million. Would you manage my assets? And then, you know what? 1% is glorious. It's wonderful. Go for it. But the cornerstone, one of the things we are built upon is serving people who are underserved by that old school 1%. That's when your flat fee, your planning only, your advice only, when hourly, all the other structures come into play. So think about that. So back to the avatar that Aimee poo-pooed.
I take it
Like
back.
think about who you want to work with, and then think about where are their assets, right? If you come to me and you're like, oh my gosh, I love working with 30 to 35-year-olds who are just starting their families and want to have enough space for one of the parents to stay home, and they love philanthropy and they blah 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 blah, and you describe this. And then you're like, and I'm going to charge 1% AUM. I'm going to like have fun going broke because you know who doesn't have any assets to manage? Those people you just described, right? So that's where flat fee comes in. Because if those people are making bank or decent money, they can afford to pay you out of cash flow and they'll be willing to do that. So that said, lots of different kinds. Don't feel like you have to do AUM, but there are a lot of good reasons to do AUM depending on who you're working with. Mine is too cheap. That quote I want to hold on to. Please pay attention to how much work you're doing for the money you're doing so that your effective hourly rate, not that you're necessarily charging hourly, but like the amount you're getting paid per hour is decent. If you come at me with a two-digit hourly rate, we are going to have some very serious words. I just had someone yesterday. I made her go through this whole thing. She's got some issues with over serving people. She's very generous with her time. So I need you to make decent money. And here's the reason for that. Not just because I'm greedy and capitalistic and horrible, uh, or that I want you to be any of those things. But what I want is for your firm to survive. I want you to thrive. I want everyone relying on you financially to thrive. And if your firm can keep on going, you're serving all those clients, and that's good for them. So please, please, everyone within the sound of my voice, charge what you are worth. You do not need to undercut your value. Okay. Oh, that was
That was
only
amazing.
3 minutes.
That was great. That was perfect. I have
I'm
nothing to
winning.
add.
Okay.
10 out of 10, no notes. All right. What is the average cost to start an RIA, or how much does XYPN charge to help start the RIA? We can answer both.
I think we can. I'm gonna leave that one to you because I think you know the numbers off the top of your head better than I do,
Heck
to
yeah,
be
I would
honest.
love to. Okay, so now it's my turn to try to be concise. Getting started with XYPN, we do have a number of options. I'm going to stick with Emerald today really quick. Emerald is our long-standing membership option where you join XYPN and then we help you register an RIA in your state or with the SEC, depending on the amount of AUM that you have to bring over. And you are an IAR of your own RIA. They ran out of letters apparently when they were working in this industry. If the other option is XYPN Sapphire, which is our own corporate RIA. So under that option, you would tuck under and become an IAR of our RIA. So I'm just going to stick with Emerald today. And so we've got a few different options for joining. Registration itself starts at 3,500. That's going to be everything that you need to get registered in your state. And then we have some packages. We have what we call kits, where you can bundle some services that will help streamline your launch in terms of like getting bookkeeping set up, getting your REA fully registered, of course, ongoing compliance support, some cool swag, stuff like that. So there's a number of options. That cost itself starts at 3,500. To utilize XYPN for registration, you do need to join and become a member and agree to be a member for 12 months. So you're looking at a full year of membership then on top of that. So if we look just at that, so we got I think membership now is $544 a month for Emerald. So that's 6,500 plus 3,500 for registration. That's 10,000. Depending on the technology that you utilize within Emerald, you'll have some technology that's fully included. If you adopt it, that tech stack as is, you don't pay anything additional. Most folks like to either substitute, I wouldn't necessarily say upgrade, but maybe they have a different preference. For example, Right Capital is fully included. eMoney or Money Guide Pro would be a little bit extra. So there could be some additions. You're also going to have things like your internet, which isn't included in membership, or like building your website. So I would anticipate you're going to be probably, if you're really working a bootstrap and using XYPN, it's probably going to be around 15,000 for your first year. That also would include fees, like you do have to pay a separate registration fee to your state. So I would say comfortably 15,000 if you were really going lean. Most folks probably going to end up closer to 20,000 if you're going to do any sort of pay for any lead generation, that kind of stuff. We do have a first year budget, which includes some case studies. So we can get Maddie to post that link. You can download that for free. At the very end of that document, there is a spreadsheet template that you can download and then tailor that to your specific situation. We also, our dear Maddie Roach, who left us last year, who was also an executive business coach, she did a session on building a budget as an RIA owner. So we'll have Maddie drop that link as well. That's another webinar that you can check out. So that I think will all be really helpful. It's just gonna kind of be about some of the other costs that maybe you want to utilize, like bookkeeping. Potentially you can outsource that immediately, which is an additional fee. So the first year budget that you'll see has kind of outlines all those other options that will make your life easier, but you don't necessarily have to go down that path. So there we go. How was that?
That was pretty awesome.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah. You too kept
Um,
it in at 3 minutes.
Amazing. Okay. Answered. All right, go away. Okay,
Oh,
we did it. How does a solo RIA answer the natural question from prospective clients about the support and resources they would have outside of me? Ooh, that seems like a good Arlene question.
it is a good Arlene question. I love this one because it's a natural question for folks to ask. Frankly, they should be. and you can answer this in a way that is positive on both fronts. The benefit of having a solo advisor is that you're entirely focused on exactly the people you want to work with. And you tend to be a bit homogenous in who you're working with. Means you go really deep on your knowledge of whatever your clients need. Okay. So that's part of this answer. But they're also like, let's be real, they're kind of asking like what happens if you get hit by a beer truck, right? So you want to, first off, get a contingency plan in place ASAP. This can be done really commonly with, like, say, your mastermind group or a study group from XYPN. We actually have something coming up where you can do kind of a, in case of emergency, break glass kind of a situation that XYPN will handle for you. But we don't really want to use that one. What we want to use is a real person who's going to keep the wheels on the bus while you are recovering from being hit by aforementioned beer truck. You also, for support and resources, you lean on us. Say, oh my gosh, what is awesome about being part of XYPN is I have this entire brain trust of over 2,000 other advisors. So if by chance I don't have expertise, I have a fantastic research resource and I can go out and find the experts in the space that have this. And then as far as like real support and resources, like who's sending emails and scheduling appointments, that's going to depend on you. And don't be afraid to tell people like you're going to grow. Like even day one, when you're scheduling your own appointments and you're scheduling your own follow-up email or sending your own follow-up emails and you're doing all the things, that's okay. And you just say, yeah, I'm so excited. When I get to X clients, I'll be hiring my first person and you can share your journey. People are pretty excited about that. And frankly, so much of your getting clients to sign is about relationship. That the really good ones are going to care much more deeply about the relationship they have with you and the journey that you're both on than if you have a huge cadre of nameless support staff behind you. So, but also share whatever resources you're using. If you have somebody doing your books, go ahead and share that. If you have someone doing some VA work for you, you don't have to mention they're a VA. You don't have to mention they maybe only work 3 hours a week. You're just like, oh yeah, my assistant Steve handles that for me, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. And you can think about it in terms of other services too. Like if you were to, I was thinking about like a wedding. If you did a hair trial with someone, right, for your wedding, and then that person sent someone else on the day of your wedding to do your hair, and you're like, wait, you're not the person that I trust and wanted for this. It's exactly the same. Like the nice thing about being a solo shop is that they know exactly what they're getting with you. They trust you, they like you, they value your work. So like I'd be thrilled knowing that like the person that I really value is going to be doing all the work. Like great.
yeah, I love that analogy. Nice little recency bias on that analogy.
Okay, best practices for lead generation as a newcomer into the industry and space.
Okie doke. I love this one that we're capitalizing leads. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, this is the big question. And if you're on this call and you don't have this question, you should. So pay attention. It's going, as with so many of my answers, it's going to depend. This depends on who you are going to be working with, who you want to be serving. Okay. So there's best practices depending on who they are. So what I tell people is find, as far as like social media or online marketing, find the places where your people are. If you want to serve post retirees, don't knock yourself out doing anything on TikTok, right? Because they're not there. And fun fact, all that changes. So 1 minute I'm here saying they're not on TikTok. Talk to me in 2 years. Maybe all the old people would be on TikTok by then. I don't know. So you got to keep your eye on that and be getting feedback, doing your marketing research, talking to prospective clients. Where do you get your information? Where do you get your news? Where do you go for advice right now? depending on who you're working with, you may be completely online, getting into Facebook groups or going onto Reddit or just a gazillion different places, having a Substack. Maybe it's just solid LinkedIn. There are certain industries that are really, really active on LinkedIn and you can do everything there. There are other industries and types of people who are like, LinkedIn, psh, I haven't gotten on there in 10 years. So you need to know that about your folks. Also, good old-fashioned natural network. Do not be shy about telling your friends, your family, the grocery store checkout people, everyone that might even remotely fit the bill or know someone who fits the bill. You want to share how excited you are. You don't necessarily want to be that guy at the party where everybody's like, "Oh, don't talk to Arlene. She just launched a firm, and good Lord in heaven, she will talk your ear off." You don't want to be that person. But you also don't want to hide your light under a bushel. You want to tell people what's going on. So that was a long-winded, it depends answer. But fun fact, we have lots of marketing calls and marketing resources and time for you to really dig into who you're working with and where you might be best suited to go to find people.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are telling people, lead with your niche instead of just being like, I'm a financial advisor, because then people are like, run away. You could say, like, I'm in financial services. I help young women in tech that are just starting in their careers, something like that, because then they're like, oh, ding, I know a young woman in tech that's just starting her career that maybe needs help. And versus being like, oh my God, are you trying to solicit me, right?
Oh my gosh. Amy, I'm embarrassed I didn't think of that part myself because that is absolutely like rule number one. Yeah, you want to ask it or tell them in a way that first off either makes them say, "Oh, hey, that's me,"
Hmm.
or "Wait, what? Tell me more." That's always a
Yeah,
good one.
for sure.
And also, "Oh, wait, I know someone that
Hmm.
would fit the bill." So,
Can I
yeah.
send them to you? And you're like, I guess.
I think I
Um,
could make time.
yeah. I'm also gonna mention another resource that I just slacked to you, Maddie, so you don't have to search for it. Jason Hamilton did an event for us on how he live streamed his way to 250,000 in revenue. So like a hot tip, live streaming. I could never, but he walks you through it. So I will post that resource as well in the chat to check out.
Yeah, he's pretty
Okay, Arlene,
amazing.
another one for you. To what extent are baby boomers willing to partner with an advisor that doesn't have a physical office presence?
This is the one I saw yesterday. Okay, so whoever wrote this one, you made my day yesterday when I was reviewing the questions. I even cut and pasted it into the Slack message to Amy and Maddie. I was like, I am uniquely qualified for this question.
And Maddie's like, what's a
Okay,
baby boomer? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Okay, okay, so full disclosure, I don't have like a real statistic for you. And there's probably one out there. Fidelity or Schwab or somebody has probably surveyed baby boomers to ask. So they may prefer that, but I will tell you, they also may not care. My financial planner is in Houston. If you were paying attention at the beginning of the call, you know I am in Colorado Springs. Those are not the same place. The only time I get to see my financial planner in real life is at live. Which is not related to me being his client. So I think this depends on how you help them over the tech hurdles. Also, you narrow yourself down to tech savvy, or you help them through the onboarding. Like our guy, when we onboarded, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to give you a login to Right Capital and do anything you're comfortable with. If you want to go ahead and connect your accounts, that's great. But if you don't, we're going to work through that together on our first call." And he was really willing to meet us where we were. Little did he know that's practically a hobby of ours. We love to link accounts. We're weird. So this gets back to who you're going to want to work with. And here's a permission I want to give you all, everyone on this call. Okay. Even if you're like, I want to work with retirees. Okay. That's a lot of people. You get to narrow it down and say, I want to work with retirees who are tech savvy and willing to have a virtual experience. Like, that's okay. That's absolutely, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. So, in fact, I would say even like I've got one guy I work with he is so old school. Like it's hilarious to me sometimes that he's an XY member. And he even used to joke, like, I don't think they'll let me in. I'm too old and boring. And I want to say 40% of his client base is outside of the state that he's located in there, which is a whole other marketing issue, but we won't go into that. So don't worry about that. There, long-winded answer made short. Oh, don't worry about that. You'll be fine. There,
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah, and maybe there might the only other additional pushback was maybe they're going to be looking for like a name brand custodian or a more well established like Schwab. Like maybe they're looking for someone that utilizes Schwab versus like Altruist, which we think Altruist is great, but a little less well known in that area. Like there might be some of that stuff that you take into account, but I don't think it's a deal breaker by any means to do just exactly what you want to do and still be able to work with baby boomers.
Yep.
Okay, should I
Yep.
keep the same planning fee for clients coming over from my previous firm, or is this a chance to raise fees with my new RIA launch?
Ooh, I'm thinking. Um, you can. Okay, two parts to this. Sorry, it took me so long to get my brain around this
It was
one.
not long.
Uh, okay, when you start your new firm and you launch it, I want you to price appropriately for what you're going to be doing, and everybody coming in the door is going to pay that, right? You're not going to negotiate down and la la la. So if they're new to you, new fees, new you, everything's great. The ones transitioning over, I would not, if it's going to be a big old increase, I would maybe not do that right off the bat.
Hmm.
That said, you've got some time. And I see this in acquisitions a lot when I work with folks who then sell their firm to, I actually had two this year go to Mercer. And so I've watched both those processes. And they always lock in the fee for a while and then they transition to the new type. So one negotiated 2 years. Her clients get to come over and they've got 2 years to get used to Mercer, get situated, feel good about it. And then they're gonna be like, okay, now you got to pay this kind of a fee. And another guy only negotiated a year, whatever. So I would do something similar and bring them over. You've got plenty of space in your ADV to put legacy fees. And if by some chance you get somebody who reads your ADV and is like, oh, I noticed that you only pay, people can pay you $99 an hour. What's that all about? And then you're gonna say, oh, yeah, I had to do that for legal purposes. That's an old legacy fee. It's actually not. It's not there. And you can cross that bridge if and when you get to it. But that said, bring them over, get them excited about the opportunities. What I have found is very, very rarely will you go to the trouble of launching an RIA so that you can stay the same or be worse than the old firm, right? There's something going on over there that you're not loving. And so now you're doing your own firm, you're going to do something better. And that's the selling point right there. Like, come on over, here we go. I'm gonna legacy you in at this fee because I know that's what you're used to. And in a year, I'm gonna transition you to my new fees, but by then you're gonna get why it's gonna be worth it. And here we go. So that's how I would handle that.
Perfectly said.
Thoughts, Amy?
No, I loved that. I loved all that. That was great.
Okay.
Oh, has there been a significant failure rate for low experience launchers?
I don't have data in my head on this one. I'll be super honest.
Yeah.
And also low experience can be defined by a lot of things. So we have folks, God, believe it or not, we have folks that get out of school and are like, ta-da, I'm starting my RA. And I will be honest, I frown on that. I suggest that you should do something different. Like, I love it. You're out of college. Yay, you passed your CFP exam. That's fantastic. There's a lot more to this than book learning. So if you're 22, then yes, that's going to be a significant failure rate. Please go get a job, suffer for a little while, and then go for it. We have career changers, and I tell you what, don't let being a career changer get you down because there is a lot of world wisdom that comes. So I would not say that I see more people in career change who are career changing and therefore that have that kind of low experience fail. I wish I had at my fingertips data on this because I suspected again that it exists. Someone is figuring this out. Um, and I don't think overall I just don't think there's a significant failure rate. There's absolutely a failure rate. Don't get me wrong. This is not
Right,
guaranteed.
right.
It's hard work. But I don't, it's because that low experience launcher could mean a lot of things. That's why I'm struggling
Yeah.
so much with this question.
Yeah.
Depends on what your low experience is in.
Right, right, right. Well, and I think part of the problem for people without experience is that there is a learning curve for the ins and outs of running an REA, just like account openings, rollovers, ACATs, like some of that stuff that you probably haven't had hands-on experience. You're gonna have to learn how to do that, and like that's fine, but that's time then that's not spent marketing, so that's all in the puddle. There are ways though, so I'm gonna hype the externship by Amplified Planning, our friend Hannah Moore over there. So she does an externship every summer that you can join. It's really affordable and it gets you 180 experience hours that will go towards the CFP if you're interested. And it's all about showing you the day in the life, really, of what it means to be a financial advisor and the systems that you use, technology, how to go about planning, some of those basics like account opening. So I would check that kind of stuff out. And then it really is all gonna come back to runway again. Like you can probably get there at some point, but it might be longer for you if without experience. I'm not saying anything for sure, of course, but maybe you plan on 4 or 5 years instead of 3 years. That's kind of the ambiguity about not having experience is you might not have as good of a beat on how long it's going to take.
That's a good answer. Don't forget to upvote these folks.
Yeah,
We're getting to a whole lot of ones.
I know.
So go ahead. Well, and I just pulled one in from the Q&A because I noticed it was over in Q&A and not in
Oh,
Slido. So I
yeah.
posted in and I upvoted it because I liked it. So
Oh,
anyway,
perfect. I love it.
um, okie
First
dokie.
90 to 180 days. I'm guessing like once you're registered. We can go at it from that because your first
Okay.
90 days are just getting registered. So once you
Okay.
are registered, then what should people be doing, Arlene?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. We've got 90 to 180 days. So yeah. So obviously first get registered. Boom. That's your thing. If you're a member of XY, we have learning paths. They're gonna walk you through this so that they're gonna help you prioritize. We also, and I'm pretty sure it lives in the free downloads. So even if you're not a member, you can go out and get the all-in-one checklist from the free downloads. That was also created to help you avoid overwhelm because there are so many things to do and knowing what order and when. So you follow through that. You want to get the base, obviously get yourself registered, get the basics set up. We even have advice like in our tech call, we have like right now technology and later when you feel like it technology so that you don't feel like you've got to get every single thing absolutely perfect. Same with workflows. Like I said earlier, best way to learn about your client workflow is run a client through it, and that's okay. Best way to know if you got your CRM set up right is to get some clients in there and see if you like how you got your data situated. Um, so the huge bulk from the moment they say, yes, your firm is registered, it's marketing. It is getting your button gear and getting the word out and getting to that first client. So, and you didn't ask this question, but I will answer it. 3 months to first client is not unusual. Sometimes more.
Yeah, I was gonna
And then
say, or
sometimes you're
longer.
that person that's like, oh, my friends were dying to sign up, and everybody's jealous of you. So,
No, that's great. That's super helpful. Does Schwab work with 50 million or less in AUM? What other custodians do new RIAs use? Yes.
yes is the short
Yes.
answer if you're an XYPN member. Sorry, wait, is this a trick question? Um,
Is this
I will
Schwab?
admit, I don't really know. Yes. I don't know what Schwab Life is like when you're not an XYPN member, except that it's harder to get in. And same with Fidelity. A lot of RIAs use Fidelity, but oh my gracious me, that's a barrier. Okay, so
Yeah.
don't set your sights on that. Um,
Anecdotally, I've
but
heard 75 million is the minimum for Fidelity. Have you heard the same or more?
I have heard anecdotally 75, but on paper 100. And that's because it always takes into your growth projections.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
they think you'll get from 75 to 100 in a year, they'll gamble on you, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And that's how Schwab, now that you're saying that, that's how Schwab probably is if you're not a member. And because that's how they used to be as well. It was always like, let's take a look at your business plan. Let's take a
Yeah.
look at some more and we'll decide. So that's one amazing thing about XY is you get to just come in and be like, ta-da, I'm here. Here's my
With
$3
zero
million.
AUM.
dollars.
Yes, yeah, to be
Yeah, yeah,
clear,
here's my
you join
$0.
XYPN, have no money to bring over, and Schwab will take you.
Right, right. So, but others to the second part, like I mentioned, Fidelity, but don't count on that one. And Betterment. I hear folks still using Betterment.
Altruist, we got to say altruist.
Altruist
Yep.
is growing in popularity. I
Interactive
don't,
brokers, maybe? Are they still
I don't.
SSG? Those were in the mix a while
SSG
ago.
got bought though.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
Oh,
bought
did they get bought by
SSG.
purging? So interactive brokers, I do think is still.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so that's that. But yeah, shameless plug. Come with
Yeah.
XY and you won't have to worry about Schwab. And
Yeah.
there is something to be said for that name recognition. Like
Hmm.
I do altruist, but that I don't want to throw too much shade on altruist. They
No, no
are
shade whatsoever, to be clear. We,
yeah, 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 yeah. They just because someone is not used as much does not make them less than. It just makes
yeah.
them newer.
Yeah,
Schwab's been
they're
around a long
newer,
flipping
but
time.
they do get rave reviews from a lot of XYPN members and have really amazing tech. So, um, we just don't have an official partnership with them yet. Okay, what's the someday, we hope. Okay, we answered that one. What's the barest absolute minimum setup to collect a fee as an advisor? So I'm reading this as like, what technology do I have to be able to get money?
Oh, I read that differently. Okay, you answer your version and then I'll answer my
Okay. Okay,
version.
great. Well, A, be registered. We don't want to skip that point.
Okay.
So register your RIA first, and then you'll need a way to bill and collect. So depending on what your fee is, you'd want advice pay, which advice pay you can use for anything that's not AUM. So that could be one-time planning fees, hourly, flat monthly fees, anything that's not AUM, you could do through advice pay. You'd also need a bank account for it to go to, right? So an entity bank account, you need advice pay, which can do the invoicing and the collecting. If you're doing AUM, then you'll need a custodian, of course, for the assets to live. And then you can do, most custodians have proprietary technology for better or for worse, where you can collect a fee from the book of business. So Schwab uses Portfolio Connect. It only will bill from Schwab accounts. So if you're only with Schwab, you could do all of your billing from there and collect an AUM fee. So a bank account, a custodian, or if you're just doing planning, no investment management, advice pay. What do you think?
Okay, you actually answered it closer to what I was going to than I thought you were.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I was focused more on like you got to have a Series 65 if you're going to be
Ah,
doing trades. You've
okay.
obviously got to get your firm registered. So I was going down that path.
Okay.
But your answer was better than mine. So, okay, moving on.
Moving on. Compliance and registration steps. I can just do that for registration.
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so like Arlene said, unless you really don't like yourself, outsource registration because it's so complicated and it's tedious, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. So pay someone to do it for you. And so you're gonna decide who that is. If it's not XYPN, there's lots of people that can do that for you. You just want to work with a good team that has the institutional knowledge on a state by state basis. And so they're going to walk you through all of this. It's so nuanced by state. Most folks here, I'm assuming, are going to be getting state registered versus the SEC, which is 100 million to get registered at the SEC level, unless you're in New York, which is 25 million. So for registration, hire someone, start there, and then they're going to
Yeah.
gather all the information that they need from you to fill out your ADV, your client agreements, your like privacy policy, your compliance manual, anything that's individual to the state. And so you would, we'll just say you're going to join XYPN. You join XYPN, you will sign up for registration, and then you'll have an individual compliance teammate that's going to spearhead your compliance. And so we have a compliance questionnaire that you fill out that's going to be everything that they need to fill out all these documents for you. Once it's ready for your review, then you'll take a look at it, make sure you're good to go with everything. They'll finalize it. Depending on your timeline, like if you're already separated from your firm, then as soon as that paperwork's ready to go, then they'll file it on your behalf with the state and manage any communication with the state regulator to answer any questions, make changes that are required, that kind of stuff. If you are staying employed until the last possible second, then you'll give them the green light of when you're ready to go, because as soon as that paperwork is filed with the state, that is a triggering event for your current employer. So they will know at that point. So that's going to be when you have to say goodbye. And then from there, then they'll complete the registration. So that's how it works at XYPN. I'm sure it's similar at other options. And you can just Google RIA registration if you're not in love with XYPN, but I will tell you we're the best. So,
The
okay.
one thing you mentioned, Amy, that depending on the state you're in, you can not file that U4 until like the
Yep.
very last second. But some states won't even look at your ADV until you file it. So
Yeah.
that is something to know way early because
Yes.
that's going to impact your departure time at your firm that
Hmm.
you're currently at. Because of that triggering event, they've got to do the U5, da 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 da. So
Yeah.
make sure you know which end of that you land on. And I
Yes.
always tell people, absolutely positively be prepared mentally and financially to be walked to the door the day you give notice. Now, some folks will be
100%.
lovely and they'll let you hang on 2 weeks, a month, whatever.
Hmm.
Most of them, I feel like, say, see, I wouldn't want to be ya, and they walk you to
Yeah,
the door. So be ready for
definitely.
that. So,
Yes. The other unfortunate nuance to that is that most of the states that require everything to be filed all at once are the ones that take the longest. So for like Massachusetts, I'm thinking about Florida, Colorado, I think is that way as well.
I think Colorado
That
is.
yeah, they're generally in the like 4 to 5 month time frame, which is a real bummer. Okay, what are the
Yuck.
absolute must tools and tech stack for the first 6 to 12 months, and what can wait?
Okay. Absolute must is your email. Please, write all that is holy, please get a real email. If you send me Amy's Financial Planning at gmail.com, I will judge you so harshly. So please it's very inexpensive. Get yourself on Google, get yourself on Microsoft, get a real email. Having a filing system right off the bat, I think is very valuable. You can use, again, you can be in your Google or Microsoft world if that's where you want to be. Use OneDrive, use Google Drive, that's okay, but have something. I think financial planning software seems like a good one to get right off the bat. Having your CRM definitely in the first 6 to 12 months. There are different schools of thought on this. Some people like you to get that CRM at client zero and start getting it set up. I've heard other people say wait till like 10 or 12 clients to set it up. I think that's too late. Okay. But I do give you some permission to say 4 or 5 clients maybe you can do on on paper somehow or on in a Google spreadsheet. But if you wait until that like client 12 or whatever, you're busy. You're going to be busy, and then it's just even harder. So that's that one. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I definitely do the tech call every single month, and I should have this totally in my head. So financial planning software, figure out what kind of input you're going to use for onboarding clients, that kind of thing. So if you need to get precise FP, or you want to be using Google Forms, or whatever tool you want to use to onboard people, that's the kicker, is be one step ahead of your clients. So anything you're going to need technology-wise to serve your client, make sure you're getting that. I know somebody asked about cell phones and whatnot, and I know we're not on that question, but it's part of that tech stack that I think
Yeah.
is important from the beginning. Is that work phone number. And if you're going to be doing texting with your clients, my rep chat is a fantastic way to go, and they will give you a dedicated phone number that then can feed through to your cell, so it can also be for voice, not just text. So get that kind of stuff. So think of it from the client perspective. What does my client experience? And make sure you've got that in place.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're serving baby boomers, maybe texting isn't as important. But if you're serving millennials I mean, really, texting is important for everyone. So you want to be able to do that. And my rep chat will archive it, which is also, you do have to have all of your text messages archived as well.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, I
great.
don't even have a phone number for my advisor, which makes me laugh. Like, it's only email. He's crazy responsive on email, so it's fine. But it does make me laugh sometimes, and I'm like, I don't actually know how to call him. I would have to cheat and get into the XYPN CRM to find his phone number, which would be rude and inappropriate. But anyway,
Yeah, not re we
so
don't recommend that.
no, no, don't recommend cheating and getting information the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay, so prerequisites for establishing credibility, certifications, and experience requirements. Okay, so if you are on the CFP path, blessings upon you, continue on that journey, get
Blessings
that
upon you.
CFP. Yeah, you've got 5 years to get 2 or 3 years worth of experience. So, so you pass the test, you got 5 years. You've got two or three to that you, and that depends on how you're being supervised. So if you're starting your own firm and you're working on your CFP, it's going to be 3 years because you got nobody to supervise you. So, but that said, always, always share your where you are on your journey. There is zero shame in having finished the education requirements and you're studying for the exam. There's no shame in I passed the exam and now I'm working towards the requirements. I am working on getting my CFP designation. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Series 65, you have to have it if you don't have the CFP, but I don't think clients care at all. They're not going to know what that means, so don't knock yourself out. Do not become a hobbyist for adding letters to your name. Okay. We do not all need to be like Michael Kitces, who has not met a letter of the alphabet he did not want to put behind his name, right? So you don't have to do that. Think about what your folks need and will value, and work on those as time allows. Um, and then don't forget you have a life story. So your credibility is your education, is your life experience, it's your ethics, it's everything about you that makes a person want to enter into a relationship with you. So there are lots and lots of financial advisors out there who have diddly squat in certifications. Like there are some bad actors out there. Okay. So please remember you're better than all of them. So share your education, share where you are on your journey. If you are any of the other designations, I focused in on CFP, but if you're a CPA, PFS, oh my gosh, that's awesome. If you're whatever the other ones are, just explain why were they important to you? Nobody does the work to get a designation just because they're bored. So why was it important to you? What is the value it brings to be part of your story?
Love it. Okay, I'm gonna answer this one really fast. We have a article that our compliance team, a blog post that our compliance team wrote on broker protocol. And then we also have an attorney referral. There was a lot of questions about transitioning and what that looks like. So we're gonna put both of those in the chat. To end, I want to end on a high note. And Arlene, just have what's your final word of wisdom, more than one word, words of wisdom for folks as they leave today. And then my other promise is that I'm going to take the rest of the questions to the content team, see if they can write a blog addressing the rest of the questions or at least sending you to other resources that will be helpful. So stay tuned for that. Arlene, wrap us up.
Okay. Okay. My final word of wisdom is going to be cheating because I loved the question that went over in the Q&A about
Okay.
having a niche, or casting a wide net. So here is my 60 seconds on that. I
Please.
want you, when you launch, to know who the heck you want to work with, who brings you joy, who has the problems you want to solve, all the good things. So I want you to know in your heart of hearts who your favorite is. It's okay to have favorites. Then that's going to inform everything you do, where you go, who you talk to, the content you create, all of it. You're laser focused on that person. Because, like, look at Aimee and I, right? You can't write a blog that talks to Aimee, who just figured out a hairdresser for her wedding this year. Like, I don't give a rat's butt about that. Like, look at this hair. There's no hairdresser, right? So you're writing blogs to exactly that person. So you're casting a tight net. Okay. But to go with your casting the wide net. That said, you all have permission to let anybody with a pulse come through your door. And you say yes to anyone who finds you and wants to work with you as long as they're willing to pay appropriate fees and you think you will enjoy it. If they put up the hairs on the back of your neck and you're like, this gal's a jerk. I don't want to work with Arlene. She's obnoxious. That's great. You get to think that. And you get to say, I'm not sure we're a good fit. And you send them down the road to someone else. So tight knit net, okay, laser focused, but the door is wide open to anyone with money in their pocket and they want to spend it on you. I hope that helps. And I wish all of you the very, very best.
Perfect. That's amazing. My parting words are, you can do it. I think you can do this. Take a shot on yourself. We'll be here when you decide you want to look into it. Schedule a call with our team. We're happy to talk to you about what this might look like for you. And yeah, I think that's all I got. Fill out that survey when you leave, and everyone have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And that's it. Thank you guys so much.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Arlene.